Everyone, Sean here from motiontutorials.net with a new Photoshop and Illustrator tutorial about my top 5 AI features in the Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator products. So, like it or not, AI is pretty much integrated into many areas of technology, including our creative tools. Wherever you fall about your feelings on AI, with these two products, there are a lot of cool features that you can use in 2026. So let's get right into my list of the top 5 features. And I have some examples that we'll talk through. Number 1, in Photoshop, Generative Fill. So here is an example. I have a vacation photo, and these are some pretty standard things that you might want to do using Generative Fill, as well as pushing the envelope a little with testing, changing 3D text. So I have my original photo here. I did add some color correction to just brighten it up. Nothing AI there. And then what I want to do is fill out the edges a bit to make this a 16 by 9 photo. And then we'll do some more incremental things. So this is where you would select the area you want to fill in. You could do that with the wand or your marquee. And that's what's really great about Generative Fill is you have a lot of control and your typical Photoshop options. So you can do Generative Fill. Now you can select your model. There's Adobe models, Firefly image 3 in 1, as well as these partner models. And this is the same in Illustrator as well. There's options like Gemini, ChatGPT, Flux, and others. So you can see Firefly 3 is from 2024, and that kind of gives you the idea of where that product is in development and what's more powerful. And for filling things in, if you use one of the Firefly models, you can just leave it blank and do generate. You could prompt what you want, but just to show how this works, we'll just do generate with Firefly image 3. And there you can see it's filled that in. It's used AI to make some decisions because I didn't enter any prompt. And it gives you some options of what you want to do. And it makes this on a new generative layer. So just clicking through these, you can see I did that on the right side. I did that on the left side. And then you can go even further with adjusting and fixing things. But the Photoshop workflow gives you a lot of tools. So here, there were some other kids swimming. I want to remove them. The swing you would think would be a little tricky if you were to use traditional tools and try to mask that out and paint back in a swing. So what I did here is I have on Firefly 3 a prompt that's remove this person, replace with water and waves. And what's really great is you can select this, and you could also use your familiar Photoshop selection tool. So you could put a feather or not, and then it's going to feather out that edge. And then same thing, it gave me 3 different options that look pretty similar. That one has kind of a fish under there. That's kind of silly. And you could do the same thing with the pen tool. So the next example, I did the same sort of thing. I selected this area because it's a little more custom. So I did use the pen tool and went around that a bit. When you complete that, you can right click, make selection, feather. So I used that workflow. And I prompted remove these kids, keep the swing, make the swing empty. It gave me a couple options. None of them are quite the same swing, but they're all pretty interesting. I actually did like this hammock basket it made. So then I wanted to go a little further. This is a little more challenging, and initially with Generative Fill, you would not think that this would be an option. So I wanted to change this text to something else, which is quite a bigger ask than fill in some sky and beach. So I'll turn this layer on to show you what I did. So this one actually used Gemini 3 with Nano Banana. I did a pen tool selection and feathered it. And I prompted change the 3D letters that say Mangrove Beach to Photoshop, keep the same style. So this is where the partner engines can do a really good job. You're not going to get your variations, but I could always generate again. If we look at this layer loosely, the edges are a little clear. So I did put this in a group and just painted out the edges. And if I wanted another one, I could then also go to generate again. And there's another variation. This one, I need to, again, do some adjustments, rotate. But it does a pretty good job matching the 3-dimensional wood on this original sign. So to me, that's pretty powerful. Number 2, generate image. So if you go into edit, generate image. If you've used Firefly before on the desktop browser, this might be familiar. This is the entire generative image workflow. I'm not going to dive too deep into this. I'll do that in another video. I just wanted to explain that this is here. So this is anything you could imagine. You're generating an entire image from scratch. So as you can see some of these examples, they show you the prompt. You can pick art or photo. You can add effects, style, composition, a lot of creative controls. There's also AI pushed into a lot of other areas to make things easier, such as select subject, remove background, even adjusting colors. So all sorts of little things that are really nice quality of life things. Jumping over to Illustrator now, let's talk about generating vectors, and that's number 3. Over in Illustrator, I have a lot of examples of things we're going to talk about that are all sorts of generative ways to create vector artwork. So if you go to generate vectors, again, now there's the Firefly models and there's other partner models like GPT Image, Gemini, Ideogram, a bunch. And you can select your content type, whether you want a scene, a subject, an icon, adjust your detail, add effects to really control the type so you don't have to write that in the prompt, color and tone, limit it to a certain color palette or even specific colors. So these are some examples where I've ran that already, going from kind of simple to entire scenes and logos, because people love AI logos these days, right? So if I want to pop back the settings on any of these, I can go to settings. So this first one, I did a subject and I just did a red and black music note icon shown from a parallax perspective. And then once you generate, it will show the icon of which engine you use. So you can see here I use GPT, here I use GPT, here I use Google Gemini. So you can get some good options. Over here are a couple examples where I did icon. So same prompt, just adjusting some settings. So here I'm using 3D and I'll generate another one. I actually like that a lot better than my original one. And what's great is if you want to make some variations, you can just option drag just like you would copy paste anything in Illustrator and change from there. So that's exactly what I did here. I liked this one. I wanted to make some new ideas, but I don't want to lose that. I want to copy over all the prompting so I can just option drag and then make some changes. So in this one, I furthered it a bit and I said a yellow and purple music note icon show with a purple icon. Using Google Gemini, I got that result, which is pretty cool. Going further, I wanted to make a typography setup, and that's a little more specific than just a music note. So here I did, using GPT Image Pro, prompting a 3D typography logo that says AI Music Studio, add illustrative embellishments around the text, have the text have 3D depth extrusions, use 3 or 4 colors. So you can really keep pushing with prompts. Prompts can be like an entire paragraph. And then we have a scene. I've chosen the 3D effect. Again, each of these would look a little different. I have selected warm tone, and I did a couple of these. So here was one using GPT, another one using GPT, this one using Google Gemini. I like that one the most. And finally, we have ones over here that are entire scenes. So if we take a look at these, I went simple here just to see what would happen. I did a beach scene with a giant octopus sea monster. I did pick 3D here. I used cool tone, generated this one. Going a little further, just to show some variation, I added some additional prompts to this one about a sailboat and the moon, the night sky, even lighting. So the light hits the edge of the octopus, generate, and that will give me some more results. And then even if you copy those, these are examples where I've changed the content type to subject. If I wanted to take where I started and apply it to just a character or even an icon without having to select all the pieces, you could generate another one and just adjust the content type. Number 4, generative recolor. This is one of my favorite things of the recent few years, as showing something that, yes, is AI, but is something that would be very tedious to do before. So if you wanted to change the entire palette of this logo, say 5-10 years ago, it would be a pain. And I used to do this stuff all the time. You would break it down, you go to Object Expand, you select each item, maybe you just select same fill color, fill and stroke. I can't tell you how many hours of my life over 20 years I probably spent doing that sort of thing. But what's really cool now, even though this is an AI image, we haven't even broken it down to making it paths. If we go to edit colors, recolor, and for me, if I don't have a palette open, I just type help and type what I'm looking for because I don't want to search around the menus. So edit colors, recolor artwork. It's going to give you this recolor palette. And to the right of that is generative recolor. So this gives you some sample prompts. But what's cool is you can type and prompt your idea. So if I just do something like midnight blue, generate, it's giving me a bunch of options and I can just click through, it adjusts that, it saves the original one, and I don't have to mess with any individual little vector piece. There's also a lot of sample prompts, which is cool. You can take a look at those and get some quick variations. Now you can't always go back to the typical recolor. You can see this is what it generated and you can manually adjust those further if you want to. Number 5 is generate patterns. So a big part of what you might use Illustrator for might be patterns. You might get stock art of this. Now you can generate patterns. If you don't have this window open, you can of course go to help and just type in pattern. It'll show you where that is. So object, generate patterns. And then you can prompt a pattern and use all sorts of settings like colors, effects, density. So here I prompted a pink and neon blue pattern of various music notes repeating across diagonal lines. It gave me a bunch of options that I can cycle through. I can further refine. And in this case, I did specify colors in this color and tone. You can go to number of colors too, and I put the exact colors. So if you're working with a brand guideline, you could put those exact colors in, which is really cool. So there's a lot of AI tools integrated all over Photoshop, Illustrator, a lot of the Adobe products. I'll definitely get further into a lot of these. But let me know what you've been using, if you agree with the list, if there's something else you would have put in. And be sure to follow the YouTube channel and check out more of my videos. I'm going to try to get back at it this year in 2026 and make a lot more design, motion graphics, 3D videos, and content.